Imagine a life lived to its ninth decade, a journey marked by countless sunrises, by the laughter of children and grandchildren, by challenges overcome and wisdom earned. As we approach this remarkable milestone, we often focus on the grand narratives of our health, the looming specters of heart attacks, or the intricate battles with major diseases. Yet, what if the greatest threats to a long and dignified life aren't the ones we see coming from a mile away? What if they are more like invisible tripwires, hidden in the mundane details of our daily existence, waiting for a single misstep? The unsettling truth is that an overwhelming majority of deaths after the age of 80, a staggering 99%, can be traced back to just 5 specific causes. These are not exotic, headline-grabbing illnesses. They are silent, insidious conditions that often begin without pain, without warning, and are frequently mistaken for the normal, inevitable process of aging. They are woven into the fabric of our habits, our homes, and even our mindsets. For anyone in their 70s, 80s, or beyond, or for those who love and care for them, this is not just information, it is a map through a treacherous landscape. Understanding these 5 hidden dangers is the first and most crucial step toward disarming them. It's an opportunity that most people never get, the chance to see the threat clearly and to take decisive action before it is too late. The journey we are about to embark on is not one of fear, but of empowerment. We will pull back the curtain on these 5 causes, exploring not just what they are, but how they operate, how they feel, and most importantly, how we can build a fortress of awareness and prevention around ourselves and our loved ones. So stay with us, because the knowledge shared here could fundamentally change the way you approach the golden years, and the final cause we will discuss is so unexpected it might just be the most important revelation of all. The first of these hidden adversaries, a true silent assassin, does not typically begin with a dramatic event in the heart or the brain. Instead, its origins are deceptively humble, often starting with something as common as a urinary tract infection, a persistent cough, or even a small overlooked scratch on the skin. This deadly condition is known as sepsis, and it represents one of the most significant and misunderstood threats to older adults. Sepsis is not the infection itself, but the body's catastrophic overreaction to it. Imagine your immune system as a well-trained army designed to fight off invaders in a targeted, localized manner. In a person with sepsis, this army goes rogue. It launches a full-scale scorched earth assault, not just on the invading bacteria or virus, but on the entire body. This systemic, uncontrolled inflammation is what causes the real damage, leading to a cascade of organ failure, tissue damage, and, all too often, death. What makes sepsis so particularly dangerous in our later years is the confluence of 2 factors: a naturally weakening immune system and the subtlety of its initial symptoms. As we age, our immune responses become less robust and slower to activate. This gives an initial infection, whether in the lungs, the urinary tract, or a wound, a critical head start. It can spread more quickly and become more entrenched before the body can mount an effective defense. Compounding this biological vulnerability is the deceptive nature of the early warning signs. Confusion, unusual lethargy, chills, or a low body temperature are the classic hallmarks of developing sepsis. Yet how often are these symptoms dismissed, both by the individual and their families, as simply having a bad day or part of getting older? This misattribution is the wolf in sheep's clothing, allowing the condition to progress from a treatable infection to a life-threatening emergency in a matter of hours. Consider the story of Frank, an 84-year-old retired mailman from Ohio who prided himself on his beautiful rose garden. One sunny afternoon while pruning, a thorn left a deep scratch on his shin. He cleaned it, put a bandage on it, and thought nothing more of it. 2 days later, his daughter, Sarah, came to visit and found him sitting in his armchair, looking strangely vacant. He was shivering despite the warm room and seemed confused, unable to follow their conversation. He insisted he was just tired. But Sarah sensed a deeper wrongness. This wasn't her father's usual fatigue. Trusting her gut, she insisted on taking him to the emergency room. The doctors diagnosed him with severe sepsis, originating from the infected leg wound. He would spend the next 3 weeks in the hospital, fighting for his life, followed by a long, arduous recovery in a rehabilitation facility. Frank's life was saved not just by the doctors, but by his daughter's refusal to accept "he's just old" as an explanation. His story is a powerful testament to the fact that waiting even 12 to 24 hours can be the difference between a full recovery and a tragic outcome. The emotional hesitation to report symptoms, born from a desire not to be a burden, is a noble but incredibly dangerous sentiment in the face of sepsis. The good news, and there is significant good news, is that sepsis is highly preventable and treatable when caught early. The power lies in vigilance. This means meticulous wound care, no matter how minor the injury seems. It means seeking prompt medical attention for urinary tract infections or respiratory illnesses, rather than waiting to see if they improve on their own. It also means staying current with recommended vaccinations, such as those for the flu and pneumonia, which can prevent the initial infections that often trigger a septic response. Knowledge is the ultimate preventative tool. Learning to recognize those subtle signs, the sudden onset of confusion, extreme weakness, chills, or a significant change in body temperature, is paramount. Think of Eileen, an 86-year-old from Florida, who, a few days after a dental procedure, began feeling confused and overwhelmingly cold. Her son, remembering a discussion about sepsis, didn't hesitate. He took her to an urgent care clinic where the early stages of a blood infection were identified and treated with antibiotics. Eileen was back to her bridge club within a week. Her story proves that awareness is not about inducing fear, it is about fostering a life-saving instinct. Sepsis after 80 is a formidable foe, but it is one that can be outsmarted.
That was the first hidden threat, the silent invader that can turn a minor issue into a major crisis. If you find this insight into sepsis and the importance of early detection useful for yourself or your loved ones, please comment with the number 1 below to let us know. Your engagement helps us understand what information is most valuable to you. The second major cause of mortality after the age of 80 is a foe many of us are more familiar with, yet its nature in the context of advanced age is unique and complex. This adversary is cancer, a term that encompasses a vast collection of diseases characterized by the uncontrolled growth of abnormal cells. While cancer can strike at any age, the risk dramatically increases as we get older. This is not a coincidence. It is the result of a lifetime of cumulative exposure to carcinogens in our environment, our food, and our lifestyles, combined with a gradual decline in the body's innate ability to detect and repair cellular damage. For older adults, the most prevalent forms of this disease often include cancers of the lung, colon and rectum, prostate, and breast. It can be thought of as a form of cellular betrayal, where the very processes that sustain life go awry after decades of faithful service. One of the most challenging aspects of cancer in later life is its often silent and insidious progression. The initial stages may produce no symptoms at all, or symptoms that are easily mistaken for other age-related ailments. Consider the case of John, a 79-year-old retired civil engineer from California. John was a man of logic and precision, someone who had spent his life analyzing systems and solving problems. When he began experiencing persistent fatigue and a slow, unexplained weight loss, he chalked it up to the simple equation of aging. He was eating a little less, moving a little less. It seemed logical that he would lose some weight and energy. He ignored the nagging feeling that something was off, delaying a visit to his doctor for nearly a year. By the time he was diagnosed with colon cancer, it had advanced to a stage that required much more aggressive and taxing treatment. His story is a poignant example of how even the most rational minds can overlook the body's subtle distress signals, leading to outcomes that are far more difficult than they needed to be. A cancer diagnosis at any age is a profound emotional and psychological blow, bringing with it waves of fear, uncertainty, and grief. For seniors, these feelings are often amplified by a unique set of considerations. There is the challenge of navigating a complex and demanding treatment regimen while already managing other chronic health conditions. More profoundly, there is the existential question of balancing the potential for a longer life with the certainty of a diminished quality of life during aggressive treatment. Some, with courage and a clear sense of their priorities, may choose palliative care over chemotherapy, focusing on comfort and peace. Others find immense strength and purpose in fighting the disease with every available tool, drawing on the support of family and their medical team. There is no right or wrong answer. The critical element is that seniors are given the space, respect, and clear, compassionate information needed to make choices that align with their own values and wishes. If these insights on navigating the complexities of cancer in later years are resonating with you, we encourage you to support our channel by hitting the like button and subscribing. Remember to also turn on the notification bell so you never miss our future in-depth discussions. Despite the sobering statistics, the narrative of cancer after 80 is also filled with stories of hope and resilience, underscoring the immense power of prevention and early detection. Take Margaret, an 84-year-old retired teacher living in Vermont. Margaret was diligent about her health, never missing her annual checkups and recommended screenings. It was during a routine mammogram that a small, early-stage breast cancer was detected. Because it was found so early, her treatment was far less invasive, consisting of a minor surgery and a course of targeted therapy. She was able to maintain her independence, continue her volunteer work at the local library, and enjoy her life with minimal disruption. Her experience is a powerful illustration that while cancer is a formidable opponent, early detection can completely change the rules of the game. It transforms the battle from a desperate uphill fight into a manageable and often winnable engagement. This is why understanding the impact of cancer after 80 is not about succumbing to fatalism. It is a call to action, to embrace a healthy lifestyle, to be vigilant about regular screenings, and to foster an open and honest dialogue with healthcare providers about any changes in your body. Knowledge empowers us to shift the odds in our favor, preserving not just life, but also dignity, comfort, and the hope for many more meaningful years ahead. This brings us to the end of our second major point, a look at the cumulative betrayal of cancer. If you found this analysis valuable and it has given you a new perspective, please comment with the number 2 below. It's a simple way to show you're here and absorbing this important information. Moving from cellular dysfunction, our third major cause of death after 80, takes us to the very mechanics of life itself, the act of breathing. Respiratory diseases, a category that prominently includes chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, and pneumonia, represent a slow, creeping threat that can gradually rob an individual of their energy, their freedom, and ultimately their life. These illnesses directly attack the lungs and airways, making the simple, unconscious act of breathing a conscious and laborious struggle. COPD, a progressive disease most often linked to a long history of smoking, but also caused by long-term exposure to air pollution or occupational dust, leads to irreversible lung damage. Its symptoms, a chronic cough, wheezing, and a profound shortness of breath, can turn simple activities like walking to the mailbox or climbing a flight of stairs into monumental challenges. Pneumonia, in contrast, is an acute infection that inflames the air sacs in the lungs, filling them with fluid and causing fever, chest pain, and severe difficulty breathing. For an older adult, especially one with a pre-existing condition like COPD, a bout of pneumonia can be the event that tips the scales, leading to rapid decline and hospitalization.
The aging process itself makes the respiratory system uniquely vulnerable. Over the decades, our lungs naturally lose some of their elasticity. The muscles that power our breathing weaken, and the tiny cilia that line our airways, responsible for clearing out mucus and pathogens, become less effective. This creates a perfect storm where the body is not only more susceptible to airborne infections, but also less capable of recovering from them. Let's consider John, an 82-year-old retired high school English teacher from Pennsylvania. A smoker in his younger years, he had been diagnosed with moderate COPD, which he managed with inhalers. He loved to recite poetry, but his once booming voice had been reduced to a wheezing whisper. One winter, he caught what seemed like a simple cold, but it quickly settled in his chest. It was pneumonia. The infection, layered on top of his already compromised lungs, was devastating. This experience illustrates how these two respiratory conditions often create a vicious cycle, where one weakens the body and makes it more vulnerable to the other, leading to a spiral of declining health. The emotional and psychological toll of chronic respiratory disease is immense and often underestimated. The constant struggle for breath can be a source of pervasive anxiety and even panic. It enforces a state of isolation, as the physical limitations prevent participation in social activities, hobbies, and family gatherings that once brought joy. This withdrawal can easily lead to depression, creating a heavy cloud over what should be golden years. This is where the importance of a strong support system cannot be overstated. Compassionate care from family, guidance from healthcare providers, and connection with community resources like pulmonary rehabilitation programs are essential lifelines. These programs not only teach breathing techniques and exercises to manage symptoms, but also provide a community of peers who understand the struggle, breaking the chains of isolation. Lifestyle changes, especially quitting smoking at any age, can have a significant and immediate positive impact on lung health and disease progression. Does this struggle with respiratory health resonate with you or someone you know? The feeling of losing one's freedom, breath by breath, is a profound challenge. We invite you to share your story or insights in the comments section. Your experience could offer comfort and wisdom to others on a similar path. Real-life experiences starkly highlight the difference between a proactive and a reactive approach. Take Susan, an 85-year-old retired nurse from Oregon. Having witnessed the ravages of lung disease throughout her career, she was a lifelong non-smoker and was scrupulous about getting her annual flu shot and the pneumonia vaccine. Her proactive stance helped her avoid any serious respiratory illnesses, allowing her to remain active and enjoy hiking in the Pacific Northwest well into her 80s. In contrast, her neighbor, who dismissed his own chronic smoker's cough for years, endured multiple hospitalizations for pneumonia and became increasingly homebound. These parallel stories serve as a powerful reminder that while we cannot turn back the clock on past exposures, we can absolutely change our future outcomes through awareness and early intervention. Understanding the grave impact of respiratory diseases after 80 is a crucial appeal for ongoing medical care, strict adherence to vaccinations, avoiding harmful exposures like smoke and pollution, and recognizing the early symptoms of infection. While these diseases pose a serious risk, taking these deliberate steps can help protect the precious gift of breath, ensuring that the later chapters of life can be lived with vitality and ease.
The fading breath of respiratory illness is our third critical topic. If this section has provided you with a clearer understanding of these risks and the power of prevention, please support our community by commenting with the number 3 below. Our fourth major area of concern brings us to the body's intricate and vital circulatory system. Stroke and heart disease are two of the most formidable adversaries of aging, often discussed in tandem because they are deeply interconnected, sharing many of the same root causes and risk factors. Together, they act as a sudden thief, capable of stealing function, independence, and life in a single devastating moment. A stroke occurs when the vital flow of blood to the brain is suddenly cut off, either by a blockage from a blood clot, an ischemic stroke, or by the bursting of a blood vessel, a hemorrhagic stroke. Without a constant supply of oxygen-rich blood, brain cells begin to die within minutes, leading to a rapid and often permanent loss of function. Heart disease is a broader term, encompassing conditions like coronary artery disease, where the arteries supplying the heart become narrowed or blocked, and heart failure, where the heart muscle is too weak to pump blood effectively throughout the body. Both place an immense strain on the entire cardiovascular system, setting the stage for a catastrophic event. As we journey through life, our blood vessels naturally undergo changes. They can become stiffer, less flexible, and more susceptible to the damaging effects of high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and inflammation. This process, known as arteriosclerosis, creates a rougher interior surface on which plaque can build up and clots can form. These are the ticking time bombs that can trigger a heart attack or break loose and travel to the brain, causing a stroke. The story of Henry, a 79-year-old retired accountant from Chicago, vividly illustrates this danger. For years, Henry had been told his blood pressure was a little high, but he was inconsistent with his medication, feeling no outward symptoms. One evening, while watching television, he experienced a sudden weakness in his left arm and found his speech becoming slurred and nonsensical. His wife recognized the signs immediately and called 911. Thanks to her quick action, Henry survived the stroke, but it left him with significant mobility challenges and a long road of rehabilitation ahead. His life was irrevocably changed in an instant, a stark reminder of how these silent, underlying conditions can erupt with sudden and life-altering force. If you're still with us and finding this deep dive into these health challenges valuable, please let us know you're here. Comment with the number 4 below to show your engagement. And if you haven't already, now is a great time to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell. Your support allows us to continue creating content that informs and empowers. Coping with the aftermath of a stroke or a heart attack is an immense emotional challenge. The sudden and often shocking loss of independence, the fear of a recurrence, and the frustration of relearning basic skills can lead to profound anxiety and depression. The support system, loving family members, patient caregivers, and dedicated rehabilitation professionals becomes the bedrock of recovery. This journey is not just about physical healing, it's about rebuilding confidence and adapting to a new reality. Recovery is an active process, involving physical and occupational therapy, strict adherence to medications that manage blood pressure and cholesterol, and significant lifestyle modifications, such as adopting a heart-healthy diet like the DASH diet and incorporating gentle, regular exercise.
The power of proactive health management cannot be overstated in preventing these devastating events. Consider the case of Martha, an 83-year-old living in Arizona. With a family history of heart disease, Martha worked closely with her doctor to meticulously manage her blood pressure and cholesterol through a combination of medication and lifestyle choices. She embraced a diet rich in fruits, vegetables, and lean proteins, and she enjoyed daily walks around her neighborhood. Thanks to her consistent efforts and regular checkups, she has successfully avoided any major cardiovascular events, living a vibrant and active life despite her genetic predisposition. Her story is a beacon of hope, demonstrating that we are not merely passive victims of our genetic or age-related risks. Prevention hinges on two key pillars: awareness of the warning signs and management of the underlying risks. Recognizing the symptoms of a stroke, sudden numbness or weakness, especially on one side of the body, confusion, trouble speaking or seeing, or a severe headache, or a heart attack, chest pain, shortness of breath, pain in the arm or jaw, can prompt the immediate medical attention that is critical for survival and minimizing long-term damage. By actively controlling blood pressure, lowering cholesterol, maintaining a healthy weight, and avoiding smoking, seniors can dramatically reduce their vulnerability to the sudden theft of stroke and heart disease, safeguarding their health for the years to come. The fifth and final cause of death we will discuss is perhaps the most deceptive of all, because on the surface it doesn't sound like a fatal condition. It sounds like an injury. Most people think of a hip fracture as just a broken bone, a painful but ultimately fixable problem. But after the age of 80, a hip fracture is something far more sinister. It is often not the injury itself that is fatal, but the devastating cascade of complications that follows. It acts as the first domino in a chain reaction that can lead to a rapid and irreversible decline in health, independence, and vitality. For this reason, a hip fracture and its subsequent complications represent one of the most dangerous events an older adult can face. It is not just life-altering, it is very often life-threatening. Here is why this single event is so catastrophic. When a person over 80 breaks a hip, the road to recovery is immensely long, challenging, and fraught with peril. The surgery to repair the fracture is itself a major physiological stress on an aging body. The subsequent period of immobility, whether in a hospital bed or a rehabilitation center, is where the real dangers lie. Inactivity dramatically increases the risk of developing life-threatening complications, like pneumonia, as the lungs are not able to fully expand. Dangerous blood clots in the legs, deep vein thrombosis, which can travel to the lungs and cause a pulmonary embolism, and severe urinary tract infections from catheter use. Furthermore, the loss of muscle mass and strength during this period is profound, and many seniors never fully regain the mobility and independence they had before the fall. They may transition from living self-sufficiently in their own home to requiring full-time nursing care in a matter of weeks.
Let's look at the heartbreakingly common story of Harold, an 83-year-old from Minnesota who slipped on an icy patch on his front porch one winter morning. The fall resulted in a fractured hip. He underwent a successful surgery, but his recovery was a struggle. While in the hospital, he developed pneumonia. After being transferred to a rehabilitation facility, he developed a blood clot in his leg. Within 2 months of that single moment of slipping, his overall health had plummeted. He was too weak to return home and was moved into a nursing home, a fate he had always dreaded. Harold's story is not an anomaly. The statistics are chilling. Approximately 1 in 3 adults over 50 who suffer a hip fracture die within a year. This mortality is driven almost entirely by the complications that arise from the fracture, not the break itself.
As we age, our bones naturally become less dense and more brittle, a condition known as osteoporosis, which makes them susceptible to breaking from a fall that might have only caused a bruise in our younger years. This is compounded by age-related issues with balance, vision, and reaction time, making falls more likely. Everyday hazards, a loose rug, poor lighting in a hallway, rushing to answer the phone can become the trigger for a life-changing emergency. The emotional fallout is just as significant. The fear of falling can create a vicious cycle. After a fall, or even just out of a general fear of falling, seniors may begin to intentionally limit their physical activity. They stop going for walks, avoid stairs, and shrink their world to the confines of a few safe rooms. This self-imposed inactivity, however, leads directly to muscle weakness, slower reflexes, and poorer balance, the very factors that increase the risk of falling. Fear in this case becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, eroding independence even faster than an injury itself. But within this bleak picture lies a powerful message of hope, because the vast majority of falls and fractures are preventable. The solution lies in a proactive, multi-pronged approach to safety and strength. It begins with a simple safety audit of the home. Installing grab bars in the bathroom and shower, ensuring all rooms are well lit with night lights for navigating in the dark, securing rugs, and eliminating clutter from walkways. It continues with a commitment to regular exercise specifically focused on building strength and improving balance. Gentle activities like Tai Chi, walking, and specific balance training exercises have been proven to dramatically reduce fall risk. For those with diagnosed low bone density, working with a doctor on a plan that may include calcium and vitamin D supplements or medication can significantly strengthen bones from the inside out. If you believe this insight into preventing the domino effect of a fall is crucial, please let us know by commenting with the number 5 below. It reinforces the importance of this often overlooked threat. As we draw our in-depth exploration to a close, it is essential to pause and reflect on the profound implications of what we have discussed. Uncovering the 5 leading causes of death after 80, the silent invader of sepsis, the cellular lottery of cancer, the fading breath of respiratory disease, the sudden thief of stroke and heart disease, and the fragile foundation threatened by hip fractures is not an exercise in generating fear. On the contrary, it is the ultimate act of empowerment. It is about trading blissful ignorance for life-saving knowledge. Life at any age is an invaluable gift, and being truly informed allows us to make conscious, deliberate choices that protect that gift and enhance our well-being, adding not just years to our life, but vibrant life to our years.
The most powerful, unifying truth that emerges from this analysis is that while our bodies inevitably change with age, our approach to health must change in tandem. Conditions like heart disease and cancer may become more common, but their prevalence does not make them a foregone conclusion. Countless seniors have demonstrated that embracing consistent, small steps, balanced nutrition, gentle but regular exercise, smoking cessation, and diligent management of chronic conditions can have a remarkable and protective effect. At the same time, there is a quiet wisdom in accepting that some aspects of aging are beyond our direct control. The journey is unique for each individual, and it is not diminished by its challenges. Your life, your memories, your relationships, and your experiences hold immeasurable value. The goal is to embrace every moment, to actively seek joy in the everyday, and to surround yourself with a community of people who uplift and support you. Thank you for joining us on this important journey today. We have covered a great deal of ground, and we would be honored to hear from you. After all of this analysis, what is the single most important lesson or insight you've learned for yourself? Please leave a comment below to share your thoughts. Reading your reflections provides us with immense motivation and encouragement.
If this video has brought value to you and has helped you see the path ahead more clearly, please show your appreciation by liking, subscribing, and sharing it with those you care about. Your support is what enables us to continue creating meaningful content designed to inform and inspire. Thank you for your time and attention, and we look forward to seeing you in our next video.